Hello? I can't hear anything from the boardroom.
Where's
There
this?
we go. Now I can hear you.
We haven't talked yet.
Okay. Because I was up. I assumed you were ready to go. I don't know how I got on then.
Oh, 84 Maple.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, I know, but I didn't hear you. I thought you said you weren't ready, and here I was up. Okay, so let me share my screen. Share my screen. Um, Shoot, I got too much stuff up here. Let me see. Uh, Sorry. Here we go.
Yep. Did we lose him?
Okay, you can see this screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Niall Kane. I'm the architect for Elia Bomush and Desan Davis. Desan Davis. We're doing a little renovation to their house at 84 Maple Street. Here, right next to Gould Park. I'm sure you know the area. This is the house. Here, we're actually going to clad the house with this nice sort of lap siding in the front. We're going to continue that around the entire house. This, of course, bit stays, and this nice sort of entablature here stays. Um, this is the side of the house, current side of the house. We're going to relocate this door to this location and do a little extension on the landing of the stair just to orient towards the new door location. It's the back of the house where again all cladding and the clapboard siding from the front in the same color, and then opening up the back of this house. And there's a kitchen renovation associated with this work, so it'll be able to be opened up to the back. Just the neighborhood. There's similar houses. Oh no, that wasn't the neighborhood. That was actually the west side of the house from the adjacent yard property. And this is looking to the east, somewhat towards Gould Park, across the street, just down the street to the west a bit, and or to the west, and that's to the west as well. Um, so there's really no change to the coverage other than this little slight extension of the landing there that I explained before. Existing house, of course, no changes to the scope of the house, footprint of the house. Uh, Existing plan, renovated kitchen, and again opening up this back wall, extending the little landing there. Um, Putting in a new front door. Existing elevations of the house. Um, and again, this is the back. This is the proposed elevations of the house. We're going to sort of reconcile all the casings on the windows to 1x4 casing. There's a sort of a varying types of casing, some with none, some different types. But we're going to clean all that up, and then this is the back elevation with the sliding door and some casement windows. Um,
There's a resolution.
And then this is the little extended patio. We're gonna put a little niche there for some recycling and garbage. And that's really it. Um,
Well, it looks like a big improvement to me. Do any members of the board
I
have any
agree.
questions?
yeah,
Agreed, yeah. Let's go for it.
I have a resolution.
Please.
So whereas the applicant is seeking AHRB approval for exterior improvements to an existing dwelling, the property is located at 84 Maple Street, and now therefore be it resolved, the AHRB of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for architectural and historic review approval is granted, subject to the following conditions, and it specifically refers to the May 8th, 2024 plans.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. That was quick. Good night.
Second item on our agenda is 20 Overlook Road. AHRB review for proposed legalization of rear deck. We have anybody to speak to this? Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Good evening. My name is Luigi Landi. I'm the project designer for the legalization of this a wood deck. If I may share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so the wood deck is located at the rear of the property. It's roughly 10 feet by 13 with a set of stairs leading up to the deck, the rear of the property. The deck itself is about 130 square feet. The material is a composite decking boards, all pressure treated lumber, and a composite Trex railing all the way around. Um, and that's about it.
Do the members of the board have any questions?
That's pretty
I know
straightforward
the
to me.
setbacks are okay.
Any?
Just a comment, in your specifications, you have the work is performed in accordance with the city of Yonkers, so you should probably change that.
Oh, okay, I see that. All right, we'll make that change, of course.
Valerie,
I have a resolution.
well, before we do that,
Oh.
do we have any issues that we need to address here?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
All right, please.
All right, so whereas the applicant is seeking AHRB approval, the property is located at 20 Overlooked Road. Whereas the now therefore be it resolved, the AHRB of the Village of Dobbs Ferry finds that the application for architectural and historic review approval is granted, subject to the following conditions. And it specifically refers to the January 31st, 2021 plans that were last revised April 1st, 2021.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Combined planning board.
Yes, item number 3 on our agenda is 2 Castle Hill Close and 4 Castle Hill Close. Public hearing for proposed approval of final plat for the subdivision. Do we have someone to speak to this? Yeah, hi.
Hi, Smith and Anil Abraham of 4 Castle Hill Close and Annie Barr from 2. We're just following up as requested with the final subdivision plat, as requested by the board, with the various utility lines placed on it for both homes to ensure that they didn't cross the new lot line that we proposed. So we're hoping that you had a chance to take a look at it.
So where are we with that, John?
We did look at it, that nothing crosses the lot line, so.
Okay, so is there anything keeping us from approving this at this point? I know we've gone back around and around a bit.
That was the only comment we had, just to check that, so.
Okay,
So it sounds like we're good.
yeah, yeah. Do we have a resolution for this?
We do. So whereas the applicant is seeking final plat approval to move lot lines for the properties are located at 2 and 4 Castle Hill Close. Whereas I'm just gonna kind of jump to the, okay. Now for the resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasonings set forth below, the application for final plat approval is granted, subject to the following conditions. It refers to the May 15th, 2024 preliminary subdivision map plans, and also that the chair may sign the final plat as long as a plat is submitted that is entitled final plat. Also that the planning board is conditioned that all outstanding the applicant must address to the full satisfaction of the village engineer all outstanding stormwater and stormwater maintenance issues, and the applicant shall pay all outstanding consultant fees. And then specifically in accordance with section 270-75, the final plat shall expire within 90 days. However, if it's not filed, however, the board may extend the time for filing and recording and for 90-day periods, for 2 additional 90-day periods each.
I jumped ahead a little bit. This is a public continuation of public hearing.
Oh, right.
So I move that we open the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody want to speak to this? Patty?
I'm glad you're finally getting this done. You're putting the line where we had it originally, where we were told we had to move it for reasons that didn't make any sense. So this makes perfect sense. It's excellent you're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online? I move we close the public hearing. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we need to reread the motion or?
No, you can just vote.
Okay. I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our list is 235 Palisade Avenue. It's a public hearing. I move we open the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'm there. Good. Here's being- Okay, Patty Steinschneider from Gotham Design, working with the owners of 235 Palisade. We were before you as pre-submission. We went through, I think, most of what the questions were. But I guess this is our public hearing, so I want to make sure we have everything that we need in the record. We showed you the kinds of houses in the street, how they work with the character of the existing house, and the fact that this lot is like many other lots in the neighborhood, that it's actually not a big steep lot. There's a nice level area to build a house. We showed you the original subdivision that we did back in 2002, which was not demapped, but merged in 2017 as a result of changes to the real estate taxes. The owners want to sell, and they would like to get maximum return, and that is more valuable with a house, which makes sense. So they have asked to reinstate the original subdivision. I explained that it's a new subdivision because it was merged, so we've gone through all the different steps. I think you know where the property is. We have the surveys. We did the steep slopes analysis. We showed that the lots are significantly larger than the minimum. Lot 1, which is the one with the existing house, has 10,453 net area, where 7,500 is required. The proposed lot has 9,233 square feet, where 7,500 is required. So I think we're good with that. We did the hypothetical subdivision, which is not a proposal for a house or any construction. It's what we're required to do to show that a house could fit on this property without too many gymnastics. We show a hypothetical drainage system, which I think is probably at least 4 culverts more than what it would need to be, but lots of room to add culverts if the site conditions warranted it. But that would be an application that would be before you as site plan review. We showed the zoning tables, which show that the proposed house, or not, the hypothetical house and the existing house both comply with all their setbacks, coverages, both impervious and building coverage. Are easily compliant. So I think we're in good shape with all of those issues. This is a steep sloped area with lots of hills pitching down to the Hudson, so it fits in with the other streets, other houses along that street with the way that it can sit down. and not, opaque the views from people on the uphill side while they look out over the houses that are down below. So it's that kind of a house and that kind of a neighborhood. And this is the sheet that I think we need to really be addressing, which is the plat map itself. I don't know if Valerie and Anthony have any questions about it, but we did put several things on it that I thought were appropriate. We've included the zoning tables. We've included, obviously, all of the signatures that are required, but we've also added that Section 300-52 of the Dobbs Ferry Village Code requires a site plan review and approval for the construction of a single-family home, alterations to any existing structures, or to make any other modifications to the property as defined in this section of the code. So that's on the plat map. If somebody buys this, they know that they have to go through a procedure to get a house approved. And I think that is the extent of all the information. Any questions?
No, I mean, all the things that Valerie noted, and taken, and this is a public hearing, correct?
It is. So do we have any technical issues that still need to be addressed?
Do we have we don't have the plat yet.
You have, yes, he submitted,
Yeah.
yeah, he submitted a
Submitted the
plat.
The final?
No, it's a preliminary.
Okay.
Right, so we are, I mean, I have a resolution drafted. We had no other additional comments.
No, we have,
Okay, so there's nothing keeping us from moving forward with this?
we
No.
have to close the public.
Well, we should ask whether anybody, would anybody like to speak to this?
Open the public hearing?
Didn't we do that?
Aye. Did we?
We didn't.
Yes,
We
you
did?
did. at
Yeah, I
the
did.
beginning.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, you did, okay. Nobody wants to talk about it?
Anybody online? Okay. I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, if you read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas the applicant is seeking preliminary plat approval for a two-lot subdivision, the property is located at 235 Palisades Avenue. Whereas the planning board conducted a duly noticed public hearing on July 11th, 2024, and it was concluded on July 11th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry finds that the project is an unlisted action under seeker and adopts a negative declaration in connection with this project. And further, be it resolved, the planning board hereby finds a proper case exists for requiring that a park be suitably located for playground and other recreational purposes within the village, and the planning board finds that in accordance with section 300-52J reservation of parkland, that a park cannot be suitably located on the property, requiring payment of a fee in accordance with the master fee schedule for one additional residential unit. Be it further resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for a preliminary plat approval is granted, subject to the following conditions, and then it refers to specifically the approved plans, last dated April 28th, 2024. And then it specifically refers to any outstanding, the applicant must address any outstanding village engineering issues, pay all consultant fees, and then the expiration in accordance with section 300-71A, within 6 months of the approved plans, that there should be a submission for final plat. And you can get extensions for that within 6 months' time frame.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Since there are no site improvements that are serving anything else, it's not an extension of road or any utilities, is there a reason we're not doing preliminary and final in one step?
That's correct, because it doesn't allow that in the code.
Dobbs Ferry Code does specifically allow that.
Okay, well, at this point, we have only advertised for preliminary plat, so you'll have to come back for final plat. We've been doing that for all of them, and that's exactly what the code says.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is 219 Palisade Avenue. Public hearing for proposed exterior renovations, including porch and deck replacements, pavers, and stairs. I move that we open the public hearing. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oop, can't hear you yet.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, this is Gemma Dursoy. I'm the architect working on 219 Palisade Avenue. Let me share my screen. So for the project, I mean, I'll start by addressing the issues that were raised at the last meeting and the revisions we've made. And if you need me, I can do a summary of the proposal for the public hearing again. So at the last meeting, one of the issues was, I guess, like really pretty much the only issue was the pea gravel and whether that adds to the impervious surface coverage. And so we've revised the calculations and included the gravel in the calculations using 40% as discussed with the building inspector and agreed upon. And so we've modified the size of the patios on both sides to reduce overall amounts. And so the proposed impervious coverage, including gravel, is includes like a 51 square foot increase from existing. And the other revision that was made was basically adjusting the location of the setback dimension line to indicate the narrowest part, which is an existing non-compliant condition. If there are no other objections to that, I can also just walk through the proposal again for the
Please.
public hearing. The proposed work includes the replacement of these are existing photographs. This is the front east elevation of the house. There's an existing porch on the west side that's sorry, on the south side that's not in very good condition. So we're proposing to replace this with new cedar decking and reducing the overall size. And then there are existing additions that are also in fairly bad condition, with including the windows. So we're proposing to replace the windows and the siding and do better insulation. And this is for the west facing sunroom, and then as well as the north facing this breakfast nook addition to the existing kitchen. So I'm just going through the drawings. This is the existing site plan. We're also proposing to add patio areas that are with loose set pavers with in gravel bed. And these are our proposed materials and lighting. The additions will be using large siding and decking, as well as cedar for the pergola. We're looking at sandstone pavers for the outside and pea gravel. The windows that are on the existing brick facade will be painted to match the existing. The rest of the windows on the additions are going to be aluminum clad and cashmere, like Marvin windows. So the plans, there's no interior work. The work is on the exterior with windows only and siding. So this is a drawing of the existing elevations where we're proposing to remove existing siding and railings. And this is the proposed. The gray color is there to indicate what's being proposed. It's going to be new. And this is our window schedule that shows on the existing, again, existing brick facade, all the new windows will be, Montan to match the existing conditions, and the newer ones will be more casement windows without Montan detailing. And this is our proposed deck and pergola on the south side. I'll go back to, I guess maybe the elevations is the best one. You have any questions?
Any of the members of the board have any questions or
Good.
issues?
I think it was good.
Okay, we both have both a planning and a architectural resolution here. Are there any issues with building department,
No.
planning, or engineering?
No issue?
Okay. Did we open the public hearing?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, good. So it's a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak to this?
Ready online?
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Valerie?
All right, so whereas the applicant is seeking site plan approval to complete renovations to an exterior of an existing one-family structure. The application is located at 219 Palisade Avenue. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the site plan approval is granted, subject to the following conditions. It refers to the plans dated on May 10th, 2024. And specifically that the applicant must address any outstanding stormwater issues. The applicant must demonstrate that the proposed planting plan meets the replacement of 50% of the gross aggregate diameter of trees proposed. If it cannot be met, the applicant must pay the fee in lieu of for the balance of the replanting of the plans. And within 100 days, 80 days after receiving approval of site plan or without modifications, the applicant shall submit copies of this for signature.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, and then I also have AHRB, again, 219 Palisades, and now therefore be it resolved, the AHRB, Village of Dobbs Ferry, determines that the application for AHRB approval is granted, and again, this refers to the May 10th, 2024 plans.
I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good luck.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Next item on our agenda is, are we calling it 0 or 175 Northfield?
The plans have it as 175, so,
But Greenberg hasn't given it that address yet, so.
Okay, 0 or 175 Northfield Avenue, public hearing for proposed single-family residence on existing lot. I move that we open the public hearing. Do you want a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Where are we? This is a fairly challenging building site. Where are we with that? Anthony?
Driveway.
They addressed all of our comments in the last, this last submission. We had one issue remaining, which I emailed the engineer, Hudson Engineering, I believe. And they show they're connecting their stormwater into a new catch basin, connecting into the system in the roadway, and they show it discharging across the road to the east. Our stormwater mapping shows that flow continues down along Northfield in a pipe. So we just want to verify that and confirm that, and I did email them that. That was really kind of our only remaining comment at this point.
Okay, John, anything? Okay, I'm sorry I had to go out of turn here. You want to present the project again for public hearing?
Sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So hi, I'm Karen Schuback. I'm with CGA Studio. Christina and I are here to present the project. I will say that Hudson Engineering, the engineer on the project, is not able to join this evening, but we can take any questions or comments for them. And we are presenting on behalf of the owner, Rashid Shalom. We are presenting we're presenting a new two-story, 2.5-story, single-family residence, and the house would be just under 3,000 square feet, and be located at 175/0 Northfield Avenue. I will talk to you about the context, and then we'll get into the details of the house. The project is proposed to be located on this lot over here, 175, which is currently an empty lot on the west side of Northfield Avenue. And it's a very steep site. And we're proposing that the house be located as close as possible to the street and at the low end of the steep site, as is typical on that side of the block. We will look at the context of the neighborhood, first looking at the west side of Northfield Avenue and then the east side of Northfield Avenue. So the project site over here is currently an empty lot, and there is an existing driveway cutting through the site to number 173. There's an existing easement for this driveway, and we provided the legal documents that were made available to us in our submission to the planning board. And I'll note also that there is a small easement over here for a wall and steps that belong to number 177. That's also in the documents that we provided to the planning board. And looking at the context of the streets, you'll see that it's a variety of a variety of two-story homes. Most of them have garages facing the street. Stylistically, actually, they're quite different. They're, each one is stylistically consistent, but they are different from each other. But the recurring typology is that they are tucked into the hill for reasons that we understand based on the difficulty of building on these steep slope sites and the desire to really disturb them the least possible. Looking across the streets, there's a very different typology going on because those on the east side of the street are level lots with mostly split level houses or two-story houses. And then we have looked at our proposed design for the new house in the context of the street on the streetscape here. And as discussed, the houses are different across, along the west side of Northfield Avenue, but the house that we're proposing is, we believe, consistent with the typology of being tucked into the hillside and proposing even ridge heights that are consistent with the context. And I will discuss the zoning for our house and then within the context of the lots of the neighborhood. So the proposed house is proposed to be on a lot that is 16,425 square feet. We are compliant with all the zoning requirements for that lot. We thought that the house would need a building coverage waiver, but it does not need that waiver since building coverage is based on gross lot area. And I'll note that the lot area proposed building coverage is 13%. The allowed building coverage is 18.75%. And the house is maintaining the small footprint that we had proposed previously. We had proposed that because we thought we had to meet coverage based on net lot, but in addition to that, we want to limit the excavation and disturbance of the site. So we're maintaining a small footprint for the house. And we are proposing that the house be located at the front setback at 12.75 feet from the front property line, which is based on the prevailing setback plus or minus 10% as permitted by the code. As discussed last time, we are showing the proposed house relative to the neighboring context, and you'll see that some of the houses are very close to the street, some of them are further from the street, and the house is meeting the prevailing setback of 12.75 feet. And then we are showing a calculation for the context-based height limits, really just to confirm that the house as proposed is meeting the code requirements for average, for prevailing ridge and prevailing eave height. And I'll note that we also have calculations for building coverage and grade plane in addition to the zoning summary chart. And the house we are proposing is compliant with all the requirements of the zoning code. The basement area of the house is a small entry area. We'll go through the floor plans, but the floor area proposed is slightly under 3,000 square feet for the whole house. Looking at the site plan, the house is located to the east side of the property, at the low end of the slope as discussed, at 12'9", 12.75 feet from the front property line. You see the existing driveway leading to number 173, and over here is the easement that we recently found out about for the property to the north, number 177. You would go down the driveway over here, the existing driveway, and enter into a carport with a deck above it. The deck is accessed off the first floor. The driveway then leads into a garage at the basement level, and pedestrian access is here via the covered porch and an entry at the basement level, and then up into the first and second floor of the house. And darker blue is the area that would have a basement below it, and to limit excavation, the areas in light blue are either over balconies or a second floor that does not have a first floor and a basement below it. So really, we are trying to limit excavation and limit disturbance of the site, since we know it's a difficult site. We also have looked at the site plan relative to the steep slopes on site. And this is really just to show the slopes that we're dealing with. We can go into this in more detail if needed. And we've noted the area of disturbance in red. And we're really trying to limit that area of disturbance and limit disturbance on the site. Taking you through the floor plans, as discussed, the existing driveway leads up into a carport turnaround area where the cars can enter the garage. This is an entry to the house over here with a study and a bathroom, and then a staircase up to the first floor and a utility room as well, really trying to limit excavation there. On the first floor, there is a bedroom and a bathroom and a large open living space, actually a pretty compact layout. And doors leaning out to the deck above the carport, and then a utility area in the back here. And you'll notice that glazing on the plan is limited to the east and south side, and that is because the west and north sides are below grade on the basement and first floor, and that also works towards our goals of designing an energy efficient house with glazed openings mostly on the south and east side. And then on the second floor, we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath layout with doors leading out to a balcony above the deck on the south side. And then the roof plan shown here is intentionally asymmetrical to maximize the plane of roof that is facing south, so that for the installation of solar panels, which works also towards the energy efficiency goals of the project. Looking here at the east elevation, the front elevation of the house, you can see the glazing pattern plays with a module of 3-foot panels and 2-foot panels, tying into a modern take, I guess, on a mid-century modern of sorts, with a collage of different materials, which we will go into in the material and color scheme. But once again, here, this is the garage carport area, the carport area where you would enter the garage. Above it is a deck and a balcony facing south. Here's the chimney for the fireplace on the first floor. These doors are off of the living space on the first floor, and then these windows are off of the bedrooms and windows off of the study over here. And we've shown the sky exposure plane lines on either side of the house. We will look at the other elevations. So the west elevation really has minimal glazing, would be seen from up high on the slope, and the south and north elevation. South elevation has more glazing, and the north elevation has one window at the stair. We are working to wrap around elements from the front facade to the side facades to really articulate the design of the front elevation. Looking here on the south elevation, you see the doors to the garage, the doors off the living space that go out to a deck, and then doors out from the primary suite onto a balcony. And this is the entry over here through a covered porch at the basement level and up to the house. And I will point out here that we are showing the sky exposure plane. This is the sky exposure plane taken at the front property line. And we are requesting a waiver or a variance for the projection into the sky exposure plane. And as mentioned earlier, since we are trying to push the house as far forward as possible to limit excavation, retaining walls, intrusion onto the site, as a result, the house is closer to the street and projects into the sky exposure plane, as it is already occurring for some of the houses along the block that are approaching the site, their sites with the same strategy. And I'll note that the two levels of the house that are below grade on various elevations and that are exposed only on 2 elevations. This is a lighting and landscaping plan. So we've tried to limit there's a number of natural elements on the site, rocks, trees, and we've tried to limit the area of disturbance and the natural elements that are disturbing the site. And we are showing a replanting scheme that is compliant with the code requirements. I've highlighted in yellow the modification since our last presentation, which is that the area of disturbance has increased and that we have 1 more tree that is being removed. And so we are showing a few more new trees to compensate for it. But we are compliant with the code requirements for tree valuation and over the 50% required for replanting. And I want to take a moment here and talk about the front elevation of the house. We are proposing a sort of a collage of, well, I guess we're proposing a playful take on a modern house with elements of mid-century modern in the design as well, with a combination of composite cladding that is composite board cladding in wood tones that are 2 different tones that articulate different elements of the house and wrap around to the other facades of the house as well. And 2 tones of stucco, a light gray for the body of the house, and then a dark gray for the accent elements and the chimney in the house. And we are wanted to really articulate design with simple moves such as the asymmetrical roof, and then using elements such as a 3-foot module and a 4-foot module for the glazing to give the house a playful character, but yet a simplicity and sort of an aesthetic consistency that we are articulating here. And we're happy to answer any questions as we go through. And then we have Hudson Engineering's drawings. You heard from them last time, and I took some notes from Hudson to explain their system. I will briefly discuss it, but I think at this point you are pretty familiar with it. They explained last time that given the for stormwater mitigation, it was not possible to do infiltration, so they prepared a pre and post construction stormwater analysis, looking at existing conditions and comparing them to proposed. And their design is for a sealed attenuation system that would be located under the driveway over here. And they are connecting it to approximately 40 linear feet of 30-inch diameter solid wall HDPE pipe with 4 exit points from the system draining into the village's stormwater system on Northfield Avenue, as the village engineer raised at the beginning of this meeting. And they would have to install a new catch basin, and you might have a question for them about that connection over there. And they have studied that it would be equal or lower than the stormwater runoff of the existing conditions for all the required storm events. And they have provided details for your review, which I believe we've reviewed with you, and then a turning analysis for the car access to the garage via the existing driveway. And that is the end of our presentation. I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious what size car you're using to demonstrate how they're gonna get in and out of the spaces.
I will check and see. They're using a passenger car that is 19 feet long.
I have a question. It looks like that site is all rock. Is there going to be much chopping away at the rock for the excavation? You know?
So Hudson has listed the approximate rock removal and the cut and fill amount necessary for this work. And they have noted that they estimate 70% of the cut to be ledge rock.
Wow.
And it would utilize mechanical rock hammering.
That brings up another question with the there's accommodation for the runoff, but there's also water that comes through the layers of the rock. How do you handle that?
Well,
When you cut away at it and
yeah, I mean, they're gonna have a wall at the back. They'll have drainage behind the wall.
Oh, okay.
And any footing drains would have to be installed to pick up any, you do get, like you said, you will get water through the fissures of the rock and so forth, typically. So that would be handled with the details on the wall and the foundation, I believe.
Okay, thanks.
And Anthony, this storage system, it doesn't perk, is that correct?
No, it's a tank, because they can't do percolation with the rock, so.
With an overflow.
When there's a tank, you have to have an outlet. So here, they're lucky enough to have, and I believe there's a drain line right in front, according to our maps anyway, so they may not have to install that long piece of pipe along the road. They may be able to just do a structure out over the existing drain line in front to make that connection. So they have an outlet structure with various size orifices. So as the storm, different size storms, different increased flows will exit through those orifices, and it'll leave the site overall at a lower rate than the existing does now.
So you basically restrict the outflow from those large pipes, and that's how you're delaying the water surge.
Right. It's routed, the storm is now routed through this large tank with a controlled, kind of metered outlet.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you. Another question I had was there a variance obtained for the front setback?
So no, we have not obtained a variance for the front setback. We are coming to you to see if we need it. Sorry, for the front setback, we don't need it.
We meet the code.
Yeah, I'm talking about the front
Yes.
side closure plane.
Setback from the street.
You don't have to meet the actual number if it's prevailing.
Right.
There's
Right.
also a question about this.
The only thing you would have to grant a waiver for is the sky plane exposure
Right.
breaking.
Yeah, this guy, just a question about that. Can you quantify the other houses on the street that are also, just show that it's not an outstander in terms of
Yes,
invading the sky exposure plan? The other ones on the street you mentioned.
we
Same
can,
thing.
yes, this neighborhood plan shows the setbacks to the other houses.
And we can,
And we have photographs.
quantify it, but we can imagine with you that this house is in the sky exposure plane as well, since it's only, almost nearly 4 feet from the property line.
It looks pretty clear they're not conforming either.
Yeah. I can
Yeah, and the
see.
next
Yeah.
one is only 5'3" from the property
I
line.
see here, yeah, thank you. The public hearing, right?
Did anybody else have any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, do we have anybody out there that would like to speak to this project? Please come up and tell us your name and where you live and.
So I'm Nancy Casey. I live at 177 Northfield. There's multiple concerns, obviously. The first and foremost would be the excavating of the rock and how that would impact our property and the integrity of our structure of our house, seeing that it's so close to our house, like right on top of our house almost. Concerns about noise, dirt, even the construction plans where they have the area like roped off, that infringes on our easement rights, which actually is access, the only access we have to our backyard. So the easement, I don't have a photo of it, but with the easement rights, there's a wall that goes around the side of our house that has steps and gives us access and others access to our backyard. So you can't access that once you start moving the house closer to us. So I'm not sure how that will, how this is going to play out with our rights and accessing our property. And again, just from the looks of it, the plans on the north side of the house will be right up against the walls and steps, making that access for us to the backyard very limited. The retaining wall, I could be wrong, but it seems that they're taking out, like the retaining wall at the front of the property that we have, they're going to be removing part of that. So I want to know how that's going to impact our wall, not only aesthetically, but also in terms of structure. And we also, I know you just brought up like flooding and water, like we've had more than our fair share of water problems and flooding and drainage. And so I'm very concerned about that and the impact that's going to have on our property. Especially with the removal of, so many trees and again, how much rock is coming out, what's happening. And even just the height and the placement of the house. I understand because of the steep slopes, they're moving it closer to the front and more towards the north, but it leaves it disproportionately very close to our house and will obstruct views and privacy from the south side of our home. So those are my biggest.
What number are you again?
177.
I have a question for you. Looks like there's a level change at the back of your property between, that's where the retaining wall is?
Well, I think they're proposing to take out one, but then add two. So in the front, do you mind if I just,
Sure.
and I could be wrong, but the way I'm looking at it, so like up to this point here, this wall, they're proposing to raise that somewhere, is my understanding.
No, actually, I was talking about the wall that goes along the side of your property. Is there a
That
difference?
one, so that wall is like, I guess, part of the easement. So that's where we have access to like go to our backyard.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, so like here, this is all, like we access our backyard through here. So this entire area, I guess my concern is with the construction and everything, this seems to be blocked off as well, like how they would contain it. So we wouldn't have access to it during construction, but also once the house is built, I feel like it's also limiting our access and what, like, we bring landscaping equipment up there, things like that, that we would be able to access.
If you have an easement, I mean, our legal team is not here tonight, but as my understanding is if you have an easement, they can't block that.
Correct.
Okay.
As far as your water
But I don't
concerns,
see on their plans at all that they're gonna disturb the easement.
Maybe let the
Not the
applicant
actual-
respond to that, because I don't see how that purple
Christina
line is
or
just
Karen?
dictating your easement. It's not like they're fencing you off or something.
Oh, no, I thought on the other plans that I saw for when they were actually going to be doing the construction, there was like an orange fence or something saying that it was blocking off that area.
Sure, they could.
So, I mean,
On the other side of your,
my concern is
There's-
more, once everything is in, like they're proposing to put the trees and things there as well, like how that's going to affect our, like,
Well,
access.
any planting they do, any work they do has to remain off the easement, so it's not gonna affect your easement.
Okay. And drainage wise, that's a huge one since we dealt with lots of water issues since we've moved in.
You got a lot of water off the rock hillside and back of your house that comes down?
A lot. Like,
there,
multiple floods.
the plan is, it should improve that, or at least it shouldn't affect, whatever's coming down the hill behind you isn't going to be affected by the construction. But where the construction is and going downhill from there towards the street should be improved by their drainage plan. That's something that we ask every project.
Your lot is uphill from them, so you shouldn't have any effect at all.
Oh, I see, yeah, I understand, I thought it was a different
Yeah,
level, yeah.
she's to the north.
Gotcha,
which is
uh-huh.
Higher up on the street.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, I think just the
That
whole
was coming down
saturation
to-
of the area of the backyard, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah, I don't know that their topography would run to your lot at all.
okay.
You can see it's kind of going in a southeast direction. If you follow those contour lines.
Okay.
But maybe the applicants could speak to how it affects the stairs and the easement, if at all.
Yeah, because we did have access, yeah, to the stairs to the preserve. I didn't know, in terms of that, if that's.
We are,
Yeah,
as the board has clarified, we are, all, you know, any construction, all new planting, everything would remain outside the easement. If anything, we're proposing plantings that would be privacy screening, so to increase the privacy between, this lot and your lot. And the house being proposed is, compliant with side setbacks, so not being located any closer to your property than permitted. And as the board has clarified, the engineer on the project has analyzed pre and post-construction stormwater and is intending to improve the situation post-construction.
And in any case, we would have to comply with the state law to make sure there isn't any increase in runoff onto neighboring properties.
Okay, and in terms of the height of the house, like it's,
It is conforming with the code.
I mean, it's like right on top of our,
Actually, this house is lower than the other houses on this side of the street.
but disproportionately closer north than
Yeah, it is close.
south. So it's right on top of our
That's
house.
because of the way the topography is,
Yeah.
that they can't move it over. Then they wouldn't be able to get a
The
driveway.
location of the house on site is exactly as you said, based on topography and also based on working with the existing driveway and access to the house from the existing driveway.
And
Based on the
how,
grades of the existing driveway and meeting those grades.
interesting. And in terms of just the excavation piece and like, how do you ensure that like, the houses next to us are not going to be affected by that drilling and hammering?
Are they jackhammering?
Mechanical, they said, right?
Yes,
Except
mechanical.
Yeah.
No dynamite?
No, you can't.
So we're going to work with a consultant to develop a very, we need to develop a very detailed and careful approach to construction, not to disturb all neighbors. We were especially alerted to and concerned about the access to 173, since we're aware of the fact that the driveway that is on the property that we're proposing to build on has a driveway leading to 173, and that is the main, the only access to that house. So we are aware of the fact that we're proposing to build in a neighborhood with neighbors and other houses, and we'll need to be very careful and develop site details and shoring details to ensure that we don't disturb existing properties.
Moving that rock is expensive. It's in their interest to do as little as possible.
But that's, I'm not aware of the process, like, so let's say they do all this drilling and then it does damage our house, or we start to see cracks or things like that. Where does that?
Is there something in resolution that would?
No, because I mean, there's a requirement, there's already a blasting regulations in the Village of Dobbs Ferry, and that all goes through the building department. So they have to adhere to certain blasting requirements and work associated with that during construction.
But if they're doing it mechanically, that means they're going to be chipping, right?
Right, so there's.
Is that part of the same
Yeah.
code? Is there any protections for neighbors?
The length of how long you could hammer is about it.
And then,
But even if it created some kind of an underground spring, it's not gonna affect either house, either neighbor.
What happens,
house.
is that it's on bedrock or is it on
That's what
There's rock.
Hudson says.
70% ledge.
Yeah, so,
But your house is above theirs,
right, but if they're
I'm thinking
and
jackhammering.
in the house,
Vibration wise.
But I think your concern was, yeah,
173.
was vibration.
Like, I don't need
Um,
extra cracks.
I've had that nearby me, and the chipping wasn't, it was acoustically annoying, but
Unpleasant.
it didn't really vibrate the whole neighborhood.
But if she made a record of what her foundation looked like now, and then found cracks in it after that house was built, would the construction firm be insured for that kind of thing? I mean, how would that work?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
they would have
But how do
liability
they
insurance.
document that?
Right, is there a process I have to go through?
So do they have
that?
to dig out from the outside of their home?
No, I think on the inside, you just, make a record of what your foundation looks like. And then if something happens to it, then at least you know. You
Is
can-
there like a formal process I have to go through to
Ask
do
the
that?
guy sitting there, I don't really know.
No, I think, I mean, no, no, because I think this is really a village
Yeah,
issue,
yeah.
right? Not,
Right.
no,
Thank you.
but,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is the building department oversees any sort of construction, and the building department would ensure that the construction is being done. So rock chipping is not like unusual to take place on a property, and it's not known to cause damage to
Damage
neighboring
to other
properties.
properties.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened since I've been here.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have something to say,
But You've
mister?
chipped rock. Can he weigh in?
It's a public hearing, Patty,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real concern.
Yeah.
And I mean, not so much the ones we've done in Dobbs, but we did 16 houses on a rock hill. Every foundation was all chipped out. That was behind the high school in Irvington. What we did, I don't remember whether we were required to do it. I think we may have done it just to protect ourselves. We had engineers go into the neighboring homes and perform the same kind of engineering inspection before any work was done as you'd do if you were blasting. That way, if there was something disturbed, there would be a record of it and you could do it.
That's good.
When we also did blasting, we only had one person who tried to make a claim. He lived like 3 houses further off than what we were required to check, which was 500 feet. He came in and wanted to know how he makes the application to Ed Marin. And Ed said, well, we take this down very seriously because, if somebody were to make a false claim, we want to make sure that we've documented it properly so that they get arrested, so the person never came back. But, I think the idea here would be to see if you could do the inspection of the neighboring homes, and it would just mean it would be a protection, I think, for the contractor and the
It
developer.
protects both parties.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Christina, is that something you'd be willing to entertain?
I think we need to discuss it with the client. I'm very much aware of this kind of process, and I've worked on a lot of projects with rock removal and even blasting, and that is sometimes a path to take to get a record of the condition of foundations that are close to where the work is being done. But I also have to say that I've never had any experience with the neighboring properties having cracks, but I think the only way to know is to get a record of the neighboring house or houses, and we'll have to discuss it with Rishi Sello, the owner, before we can commit to that, I think.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything?
Anybody online? Well, how do we work past that issue?
I don't know you'd have to talk to Dan Posen. I don't know if legally you can require an applicant to go into somebody else's house, right? So,
There's nothing in our
Right.
code or the state code that would
Right.
require that.
So we can't
You
put that
could
on a resolution.
table it until they speak to the client and see if the client is willing.
so, that's up to you, but I don't, again, you know, you've approved a number of projects in the past, in recent past with rock chipping. I mean, even ones that Patty's gonna be working on. So,
Lafergie,
right. So, I mean,
North Mountain.
right. I mean, I'm not trying to discount the neighbor's concern. I just don't know if you can require the applicant to go into their house to do, you know, and then, right.
Right. So it would be Christina talking to her client and seeing if they can work out something, I think.
Right.
Yeah, maybe,
But it doesn't sound like something we can hold up the application for.
Have you ever required that in other projects that had, this kind of situation? Because there've been so many sites, even in Dobbs Ferry, even on this road on Northfield. I remember chipping of rock for a house on the street. So, you know, I'm just curious if there is any protocol or anything that, or any past experience with this
again-
situation.
Have there been projects this close to her home?
Yeah.
You know, what's the distance?
well, I mean, the other option is you can ask the applicant to provide you a vibration analysis, right, of the rock chipping. And then that would, you know, and that would solve the situation as to whether it's really going to affect the neighboring property.
That sounds good.
Well, do you need to talk to your client about that as well?
Yep.
Al, I couldn't quite hear.
Oh, do you need to talk to if it was proposed that a vibration analysis be done when the chipping starts, is that something that you'd be willing to entertain?
Well, I've been on a blasting project that had blasting, and we had a device that measured vibration at neighboring houses. I'm not familiar with that being done for chipping, but are you saying that is something you know about?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, it doesn't even have to be when the project, it could be prior to approving the resolution. You could ask for additional information as to what they're proposing to do on site in terms of chipping and how will that affect the neighboring property. The
Yes, we
engineer
can.
should be able to give something.
Yes, we absolutely can look into
Yeah.
that and get information for you. Yes.
Well, they probably have to have some kind of geotechnical engineer involved.
Right.
I'm sure Hudson has that type of expertise.
But you would think this is a fairly standard thing for large projects.
Yeah, I mean, I think to determine it, you'd have to figure out, is it really solid ledge, is it frac, you know, what kind of, you know, the quality of the rock and, you know, how it might transmit vibration. So I think, you know, by the time you do that analysis, it might probably be easier and cheaper if they just, you know, did the survey prior and had a contractor insurance deal with that, like.
I guess I wanted to ask you if you're proposing that we speak to our clients about either doing the, you know, inform survey of other neighboring properties or a vibration analysis. Or is it, I mean, because this is, you know, not previous protocol from other sites, so we could either approach to the concern, is that correct?
Well, the concern's out there, the board thinks it's a legitimate concern.
Right.
And, you know, maybe you should present
Both
some way of,
options, yeah.
you know, some option to kind of deal with it in some way.
So I mean, two options have been suggested here, so we could discuss both options with our clients who, and see which one seems feasible for the project.
Sure.
Yes,
Sounds good.
That would be good.
that would be good, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Are there any other issues that we'd like to see addressed on this project?
Yes,
Can you please come up to the microphone?
yeah.
Just in terms of noise and time frame of this excavating, because my husband does work from home, I didn't know what the guidelines were for that as well. And when this project would be starting, if we know.
They can state that, but we don't, that's the building department.
Right, there are noise codes in the village, right?
There's hours,
Hours, that's
Okay.
it.
but in our code right now, there is no,
There's no actually decibel levels,
You
right?
can't start before 8 AM or something.
7:30.
7:30, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I hear those leaf blowers
It's-
in
yeah.
7:31.
I don't think they really know until they,
So
you know,
there's nothing we could enforce as the building department.
Okay, but
if
they,
it took them 150 days to do that rock. Because there's nothing in our code book stating a timeline.
Well, isn't there a time limit, though, for the amount of time, your continuous days you're allowed to chip? Not in the code?
Well, I would say that we will obviously abide by the work hours set by the Village of Dobbs Ferry. We have no intention to work out, the client has no intention to have construction happen outside of the permitted hours. And obviously, noise disturbance and construction would be, it's in the interest of the builder to limit the amount of time that they're spending doing each building act and building the house as a whole. So it would not be dragged on more than it needed to. And the building permits do expire and need to be renewed. There are fees associated with those, so construction would not happen outside of permitted construction hours, and it would not be dragged on for longer than it needed to.
is there a estimated time frame in terms of the excavating?
Is there any way to guesstimate how long the excavating is going to be, is I think what you're concerned with, correct?
Yeah,
I mean, that affects
that's,
his workday.
that's something the contractor could tell you.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to get that information. Usually it won't last more than 30 days, especially because of the expense. And, we have, if you look at our plans, we even have a lot of the house has a partial basement to avoid excavation. So we're hoping it won't be that much time, but I can't be specific at this point in time.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to recommend we continue the public hearing until
Next month.
Christina, your team comes back with some proposal to address the vibration issue. Either inspecting the neighbor's cellar prior to construction
Yes.
or do vibration monitoring.
Exactly. Actually, the inspection is what I have experience with, getting a pre-blast or pre-drilling survey of the foundation, but of either the house closest or both houses nearest. We'll see. But we will discuss the device that measures vibration. But the first option is a way to really have a clear idea of whether there will be any damage after the work is done. I will discuss this with our client and we'll come back with some options for you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that we continue the public hearing to the next meeting.
Do we want to approve the architecture
No, I suggest we.
together?
Yeah.
Okay. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Use some of that rock in the building.
All right, we're on to pre-submission conferences. The first item on that list is 443 Broadway. Patty, is this you? This is you, yes.
Yes, it is. So we came before you a while back. We had a good conversation. I thought the board seemed favorable towards the approach that we were taking. We've made a couple of changes. See if I can share my screen. So this is 443 Broadway, which I think everybody is very familiar with. It's a building that needs some loving care. It's been sitting there for a long time in a state that's not really great, I think, actually from the time it got started in construction. Let's see, don't need to go through all this. We were required to get variances, which we obtained. There were 4 variances requested. The dimensional area variance is well granted. The one that was left open was parking, but I'll address that to an extent as we go through. Basically, what we're looking to do is renovate the existing building, which has currently, it's a multifamily. And what we're looking to do is make significant repairs, which means completely replacing the roof. Not the roofing material, but the framing of the roof itself, and making other modifications, new windows, new siding. Basically, it should end up looking like a new building. If any of you have taken a look at it, you realize it's a very strangely oriented or organized building. You've got staircases on the outside that kind of meander about to get you to places, and you come in, and that's a two-story unit that kind of tucks behind something else. So what we're doing is kind of straightening all that out. We're proposing a total of 8 units with 2 on each floor, 2 in the basement, 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second, 2 in the attic, or the third floor. We are proposing a single stair that is a new stair structure that would be fire rated and provide access to the second and third floor. There's a separate entrance going for the basement, and the 2 on the first floor would have direct entry. At the last meeting, we talked about modifications to the existing parking area and how we were going to make that work. We also looked at the possibility of creating a new parking lot. We originally had assumed we really couldn't do that because we had an issue with impervious coverage. To our surprise, doing a new parking lot actually reduced our coverage, and the new parking lot would give us 10 spaces instead of 8, which I think people perceive would be beneficial in this area. So we've amended our application to be the 10-lot parking lot, which also enables us to meet the setback requirements to the property line on the west side and provide additional planting on site. I realize that we've talked about the landscaping plan at this point being a placeholder, but we're proposing specific types of plants in specific areas. Once we get to the point where we're to the next level with you guys, would be, complete with our landscape architect giving all that information. But I think we can make a very nicely landscaped site. I don't think we need to get into the issues with erosion and sediment control. This is the landscaping plan that we've put together for it as the placeholder. And we just acknowledge that we're superseding the previous design, which would have been for a total of 8, and had the spaces closer to the property line. I already mentioned that we're talking, 2 units on each floor. We've got the existing plans, and then what we've shown here is the proposed plans relative to the existing. On the upper existing plans, we're showing the black lines of the existing. The red line is the outline of what the proposal is. Below is the proposal with the blue lines showing what the existing footprint is. So you can see along the north side, we're eliminating 2 bay boxes that come right up to the property line. And we're pretty much fitting into the footprint of the existing house. The main structure that's additional, of course, is the staircase, which is one of the things that came up at the last meeting. It wasn't really, no one said they didn't like the staircase, but they said, not quite there yet. So we've played with that a little bit. We did the same thing with the elevations, existing elevations on the top with the red line showing what we're proposing. The bottom is the proposed with the blue line being the existing. A main thing that we've done is eliminated some of the hips and turned those into gables, which give us better layout on the top floor, ties things together and eliminates one of the reasons that I think they had so many problems with water getting into the building. This shows the kind of way we've changed the staircase. We've changed it to a gable instead of a hip. We have changed the window configuration, and the existing building has a base of brick. So what we've done is we've brought the brick up on the base of the tower to kind of help give that a little bit more articulation. And probably I should show you those in photographs, or not photographs, this is not built yet, but renderings, which I think look like photographs. And this kind of shows us going around the building. Top left is looking at the property, looking at the building from Broadway. And then if you go down that left side, you're looking at kind of rotating around towards the school side. And on the other top of the right-hand side is the side facing Rochambeau, which is kind of the nicest side of the building, I think. The back side of the building is the bottom right. And as the comments from Village Consulting Planner, we have had conversations with the school. We're not proposing that there would be a plan that we would be doing with the village in approvals on that, since the school is under the jurisdiction of the State Education Department. They don't get permits from the village. What we would be doing is making offer to have landscaping done by them on the property that would benefit both properties. So I don't know if that's a procedure that we would be doing with this board, or would we be working that out with the school? I think that can get figured out. We don't, whichever way you want to do it, is fine with me. I mean, mainly what we want to do is provide more privacy to the residents from kids on the school. My fantasy is we create a tranquility garden with fun place to hang out and sit, where kids can get together and all, but I don't know if the school has any interest in us doing something like that. I just think we're probably premature talking about materials and colors, but you've got them on the drawings showing that. And then we kind of did a series of, the renderings with the photograph of existing conditions juxtaposed, so that you can kind of get a sense of what the change this would bring about. And I don't think there's anything else in this that, unless you guys got questions. Would love to get to a point of public hearing, but I think what you're looking for us on that is getting a little bit more involved in the storm drainage on this. The way this really works out, we're not making a significant increase in coverage. One could argue that because we're not doing that, we don't really have to do much storm drainage. My approach is the opposite. Right now, there's no real storm drainage on this property taking care of the water. We've got problems in the area. This isn't one of the worst areas, but water going down Rochambeau is an issue. Anything coming out into Broadway can be an issue. So particularly since we're now doing the parking lot, what I think would be good is if we'd actually just treat this as though it was a new construction and pick up all the water from the building and the parking area and handle it on site, unless there's an objection to it.
No, the more stormwater management, the better. It's a challenging village in that regard.
Well, I never know what you guys really want me to do. I mean, the last question, that last application, you had us do a really thorough rock removal plan and details with how many loads of rock we could do a day and how big the hammers were going to be and what the sound levels were and what we were going to do to cut down on dust and all, which I think that was a very useful thing. Made it less of an issue for the neighbors.
Yes, it was, yeah. So I'm actually okay with the smaller units, because that's one of the questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the question is do we have the ability to waive that size issue?
Size of the,
The affordable housing unit doesn't meet village code in
How
square
big is it?
footage.
Well, it's actually, so
There are 2 units, right?
there's
Yeah.
2 units. One has to be an affordable housing unit. The other one they're offering as an affordable housing unit. So I don't know if, and we would have to talk to Dan on whether you actually have the ability to waive the affordable housing, the required affordable housing unit requirement. But that one is already, there is one that does meet the minimum requirements. It's the 1 bedroom that does not. The efficiency does.
I mean, it's close to 500 square feet, right?
Right.
I've lived in smaller, so.
Yeah, there was a great article this past week in the Times talking about shrinking and growing apartments across the nation. And it's like, they act like it was shocking that so many cities have larger growing apartments in places like Phoenix and Las Vegas, and in places like New York and San Francisco, they're getting smaller. And it's kind of like, I think if you look at the economics involved, you'd understand why those are.
No, I'm tempted to support that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The other one, the parking, I know this zone does not have pileups as part of it.
That's
Right.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I guess we should talk to Dan about what our options are there too, because I'm also inclined to support that. I don't know about my fellow board members.
Lori Lee, we spoke to Lori Lee Dixon about it. If this is something that the board is open to, then he could petition the village board to allow for the payment in lieu of parking, in lieu of a zoning variance for those spots.
So I don't know the exact procedure for that, but I would support that.
Yeah, me too.
how many spots do we need?
11 and there's 10.
10, okay.
But make sure you feel comfortable with the parking arrangements It does look like there will be a large tree that will be, need to be removed in order to do this parking arrangement. So just make sure that you're comfortable with that. And then also that we just noted that like you might want to also require that, because there is certain concrete that looks like to be removed, and whether that's going to be grass or if it's all just going to be concrete based on the,
Yeah, anything that's paved for the driveway would be pavers, but anything that's not is not going to be concrete.
right, but right now, the way the house is positioned and the
Yeah.
current parking lot, there seems to be additional concrete space that you might not need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So then the question is whether you want that grassed or not. So I would just make sure you feel comfortable with the parking arrangements before we send that to the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Right. The other one I think your memo picked up on also was the fact that we've got improvements around, really, it's three sides, but it affects the village on two and it affects the school district on the third, where they've got brick piers and fence, where it appears that they put the center line of those structures on the property line. So they're half on the village's right-of-way and half on the property. I think you were suggesting that we would seek a license for that?
Is that
I
one?
think I might have mentioned that.
Yeah, you might have mentioned that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on it's in the right of way, it should be resolved, I guess, with this new site plan. you
I mean,
know.
just responsibility for maintenance and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that, for sure.
It needs to be negotiated with the board.
And I would say with the parking, just, we mentioned dimensions and, show, you get those two end spaces that they're gonna work, just backing out. There's no, little hammerhead.
Well, we're 20, 24, 20.
Yeah, I mean, if you're wide enough.
Yeah.
You're 24 aisle, I mean, that's just, just wide
You need
enough,
a
really.
second
Back
means of
straight out.
egress, second means of egress for the third
It's
floor.
actually
So it's a fire.
pretty
It's
good.
gotta be code.
It's gotta be, we didn't even review it for building code yet.
Okay, okay.
What is it not reviewed for?
Second means of egress for the third floor?
Second means of egress is not required for three-story buildings with less than 4 units on each, other than the windows.
Oh,
The windows.
Yeah. And we're intentionally changing the windows to, I mean, right now, you've got a lot of rooms there that do not have a second means of egress. All of the bedrooms would have at least two means of egress.
And it's gonna be sprinkled.
Okay, cool.
Really? Like as though
Well,
that's
you may
enough.
not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, well, that's all, it's whether it's over 50%. Do you think it's over 50%? Probably 150%.
So that,
No, because
Anthony?
it's
Yeah.
more than a 50%.
Your memo says that some issues from the June 5th memo have not been fully addressed.
Well, just, whatever few things that were mentioned there, like, I guess, the fence line and things like that. I was gonna say with the stormwater, if you do detention, that's great.
Yeah.
If you could, do the whole, detain everything on site. Either way, you gotta show how you're handling the stormwater in the new parking area. And
Yep.
you'll have all new downspouts from your new roof and where all that's going.
Yeah, the thing we haven't figured out, maybe you've got a good idea, is the building is so close to the property line at that kind of northwest corner. I'm almost thinking what I'm gonna need to do is work something out with Eric, who lives next door and owns that building, where we could bring have an easement for a line to bring that water around to the front.
Yeah, I mean, maybe find out if there's drainage in Rochambeau there. I didn't look myself.
Yeah,
And if you're gonna update the survey, that was one of the things we mentioned on the last.
yeah, I think we have, I mean, that survey's pretty old and,
Yeah, I mean, with all this work, you definitely need
yeah,
a new,
gotta
yeah,
water
we
the,
got that, we have that in the works.
yeah.
gotta water the AstroTurf in the football field.
Isn't that a beautiful field? How'd that get built? Nobody ever knows.
All right,
And Patty, I think the tower looks better,
Good.
so.
Not there
for
yet,
trying.
quite yet.
Well, I don't know, but I'm gonna probably defer to the architects on the board, but thank you for making it better.
Well, thank you, thank you. Do anything else for tonight, or we're good? I'm assuming you want to see all that other stuff before you call for the public hearing?
I think we should, yes.
Yes, please.
And we need to talk to Mr. Posen about the license agreement, because that would have to be before it would go to public hearing.
or at least the presentation to the village board
Yeah.
before.
Right, at least the,
I think you'll start the process so you
Yes.
can see.
I mean, if you want to try, if the board wants to grant him to at least start the process in front of the village board for that and the payment in lieu of parking, they can at least make an application to the village board.
For the BOT.
Yeah.
Is that just a letter request that they give a consideration submitted to the Board of Trustees?
I
No,
think,
you would
it's-
have to do a whole,
yeah, you'll have to do a presentation in front of them.
Presentation.
Sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it starts, there's not a form I'm filling out. It's a letter saying, here's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think to a larger extent.
With the whole rest of the form.
Right, with the site plans and everything like that. And you might want to also speak to the school district, because if they're not interested, then you're going to want to make sure your landscaping plan.
But we don't own any land that you could plant anything on.
Right,
that
so
side.
then you'll have to, then it'll just probably be a payment in lieu of parking or,
Planting.
I mean, payment in lieu of any trees.
You'll have two
coming down.
pileup fees.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the one tree, I mean, it's worth taking that down because it's not great, and I'd rather have the trees all be, really the right kind of trees for this site, and getting rid of that fountain thing that doesn't work in the middle with, that's, cleaning all that stuff up, I think it'd make this much more attractive.
right, so but you'll just have to finalize what you're proposing for landscaping in
Sure.
terms of meeting the code.
Did they get a variance?
I mean, we have a schedule there.
I know, but you also are going on somebody else's
Say that.
property, so.
That'll be good. It'll be
Okay.
fun.
So Patty,
Yes.
the required the side yard setback, is that between the property line of the school and the building?
There's
10 feet.
almost no space between the building and the school's property.
So what is the 10-foot?
It says
That's what we had to get the variances for.
Oh, you're getting,
We went to the zoning board.
0.68 feet.
so you have point, okay, I see what you're saying. So the required side setback was 10, but you have 0.68 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
0.68, which the first version of that, I guess Dan couldn't believe it, so he thought it was 6'8".
Right.
And versus 10 we were looking for is 3
Got
foot
it.
4. No, we're
Sorry,
looking for
I misread that.
9 foot point, 4'2".
Inches.
So, I mean, luckily it is the school and it's luckily the athletic field side of it. It's not like we're really intruding, so I think everybody was realistic about it, and I think the school, as much as anybody else, would like to see this much better, more attractive, well-maintained property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else, anybody?
Continue the.
Okay, we'll see you next
You
month.
want to continue it, but you want to,
It's not a public hearing, it's just a pre-submission concept.
yeah. But give him the authority to proceed with the BOT
On the pileup issue.
on the
Pileup.
pileup, both pileup issues and the,
And then no planting in
and
the back.
the license agreement for
Do we
the
vote on that?
wall.
Right, the license agreement on the wall and the pileup issue, but the other stuff needs to go by Dan, right? Posen?
Those are the
So,
ones,
right, there's the license agreement and there's the payment in lieu of parking. Those are the two that are going to the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
yep.
So do you need something, does he need something from us to make that happen?
No, just that you're comfortable with because you're not gonna have them go before the Board of Trustees if you're not comfortable
If
with
you're
the
not
parking
comfortable with the
plan.
project as a
Right,
whole.
and the
Right.
plan as is, right?
No, I support that.
I support it.
Anybody else?
Now, are we also asking them about the size of the units, or is that something that the planning board, because it can,
So right now, if you have the one bedroom as the affordable housing unit, right? If the one bedroom is the affordable housing unit, then you meet the code.
no, the
It-
efficiency?
I mean, I'm sorry, if the efficiency is the affordable housing unit, then you meet the code. It's the one bedroom. So then you could, the planning board could theoretically provide a waiver for that.
Okay.
Because that's not the affordable housing unit, and I think that's
But
probably,
I'd like to have both of them be that.
you can designate them both affordable housing, but
Right.
one is required by code.
Right. Has the village had any conversations recently about trying to do more what was discussed up in Albany in January with focus on workforce housing and increasing the number of affordable housing units that are included if you're going for workforce housing? Because that's what we need the most in Dobbs Ferry.
So right now, there has not been any discussions on changing the current affordable housing
But I
regulation.
could put that in the letter and say, we're proposing 2, and this is,
Yeah, you can propose two. You can
Yeah.
absolutely propose two.
well, we're proposing 2 that are workforce.
Well, one will have to meet the requirements of the code.
county.
Of the specifically the income limits in the code. The second
It'll
one,
need to address that.
what?
It'll need to address that.
You don't need to address it.
Address it.
Just tell me to go home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's it.
one you'll have to meet, that will be required. The other one, you can have whatever income limit you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll
Thank
see you next
you.
month. Next item on the agenda is 75-137 Beacon Hill Drive, Beacon Hill Estates, pre-submission conference for proposed repair of shed wall.
Anybody online? Ooh. Give it a beat.
We can potentially look here.
Should we waive it?
We were suggesting maybe waiving this for site plan approval.
I'm not sure I'm clear on the project. There's nobody here or online to address this.
Anthony mentioned the dry well.
I mean, it looked to me like
And
they
the
were
wall.
rebuilding.
Is this for
walls,
Beacon Hill
shed.
Estates?
Here we go.
Okay.
Shed wall repair.
Somebody's here.
Yeah, is that for Beacon Hill Estates? Sorry, I'm just hopping
Yes.
in right now.
Great.
How's everyone doing? Yeah, so for this project, it's the pre-submission hearing, and we observed a deteriorated perimeter wall, and it is taking on lateral load of the soils behind it. I could share images and stuff if I can get permission to share my screen. And we prepared some construction documents and some design documents to rebuild that perimeter wall. And while we were rebuilding it, the contractor is introducing shoring. It's Xenos Construction Corp. But while they do the excavation phase, the ownership requested that a drywall system be introduced just to mitigate some of the water that had led to deteriorating waterproofing at the positive side. So that's the scope of work. I saw a few comments come back earlier this week, and one of them was requesting a survey that I think the contractor, who's the applicant of record, had submitted, but I can request the management company to send that again. Another one was requesting whether the catch basins would drain into the new drywall system. The catch basins, they're standalone and they're not tied into that new drywall. The drywall isn't required, it's an existing shed, but we thought just for water mitigation purposes and to prevent water from standing on the waterproofing, so to prevent like future deterioration. But it's a standalone system. And there was also a question about the footing and whether the structure was sufficient to take on the loading. And we have structural design done. I can send it over if the peer reviewer wanted to see that. And then there was just one question about the location of the drywall. It's 10 feet from our footing to prevent any water from being stored adjacent to that structure. So I don't think there should be any issues with those. I can send back a letter addressing all the comments, as well as those calculations that were requested. But if there's anything else, I'm happy to hear it and attend the next meeting and hopefully get closer to approval.
Anthony, if this is a stormwater management issue, shouldn't you review the plan?
Yeah, I did.
You did,
Those are
okay.
the comments he's referring to.
Okay.
And, yeah, they can address those comments. It's really, it's comments on the drywall, the placement. Usually we like to see them 10 feet from, rule of thumb is about 10 feet from the foundation, which he mentioned, 10 feet from property lines. It looked like it was an existing drywall that was being replaced. Was that the case?
No, there wasn't an existing drywall. There was no drywall system, but a new one is just being introduced just to help with the water.
Right, and it looked like we'll just let him shut the door.
Yeah, of course, I have family over and they all decide to come downstairs after an hour of sitting in silence.
It looked like the drain from behind the foundation wall maybe was going to the dry well, or are you bringing?
Correct.
the
Yeah,
roof
there
up?
was no existing drainage behind the shed, and it's like a 6 foot area. Oh, sorry, like a 3 foot area. And those 3 feet, we're just saying that we're gonna introduce some pea gravel there, and if water is standing there, it can go via the new
So the
water
dry well's
system.
there to relieve the pressure behind, the hydrostatic pressure behind the wall, you're not picking up roof runoff into the dry well.
No, but the calculation is based off the half roof that's running there.
That's how you sized it, okay. All right, well, yeah, I mean, just address those issues, and if it looks like, it was a pretty substantial design of the wall, I just wanted to make sure it's, because it's right, it's gonna take the load of the parking lot above it,
Yeah, and
consider that. That's all.
yeah, existing there, I don't know what historically how this shed was built. It's been there for, 50 years. But I designed it based on local building codes, and it's more than sufficient to take on the live loading capacity of trucks. I know nowadays EV cars have heavier loading. We accounted for the live loading, and I don't think there should be an issue with this structural design. And even this dry well, it's not required that we add it. I'm only adding it just
Right,
to
I understand.
mitigate it.
So it's really just engineering questions. There's no change to the footprint of the shed, as far as I can tell.
Correct.
The addition of a dry well, so it's up to the board if there was something you wanted.
So we could waive this pending your approval of the engineering?
Yeah, I would just review it before any building permits issued. We'll get revisions and.
You okay with that too, John? All right, yes, I move that we waive the site plan for this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good luck.
And John, didn't require AHRB, right?
The shed is being changed,
No, the shed isn't being changed.
Okay.
so no.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks so much, Anthony. Thank you guys for your time. Anthony, I'll send back a letter with clarifications for everything.
Thank you.
Who was first? You first.
He was first, and then I seconded, and then, Laura.
I missed it, sorry. I was
It's
right.
okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 70 Washington Avenue, pre-submission conference for a proposed new residential home on existing lots. Do we have someone to speak to
Since
this?
you've been here to the bitter end, it seems like this is the one you're interested in. 30 Washington, 70 Washington, I mean.
I don't understand. Okay, here we go.
We good? Robert Sherwood, landscape architect for 70 Washington. We also have tonight the architect in the Lily.
From the engineer's office, from Roy Previs as well.
And we have the owners of the property. So tonight's a preliminary subdivision, and for the house, we understand we did get your review letters from the two consultants, and we understand we do have some work to do on the plans to make them be a little bit more cohesive and finalize and give you all some more information that has been requested, which we do have available.
This is a proposal to build a house on a lot that's part of a subdivision, and minor modification is going to be needed for the utility services. It makes more sense to utilize the existing services that service the house behind it for the new house and put a new line for the existing house on top on the property. Originally was, the subdivision was approved to create a shared driveway between the two properties, and we thought it will be a better off to have in one entrance, one curb cut on the road, the same existing one, and then split them into the property, so each house will have its own utilities, its own driveway, everything, and there's nothing commonly shared between them. And that is where the proposal in here, it's very really simplified and a better system than the original subdivision approval.
Now, it does increase the impermeable surface, though.
Of course, and the stormwater management will be addressed, and, you know, a whole full report and study will be done on it. You know, it's, we develop in a new house, I'm sure there's a lot more to it. Even with the shared driveway, the increase in the impervious is probably another 10-15% more than having two separate driveways. It's really separating the utilities is the most important fact. And one of the things that was asked for is the easements. Most of these easements are going to go away. They do exist, but they will go away because we're separating the utilities.
Right, so I think Dan Posen specifically called me on this. He definitely wants to we need to definitely clarify which easements are going to remain, which easements are not going to remain.
Correct.
And then also any subdivision, additional, like the original subdivision had certain requirements that were necessary in terms of like the hydrants and stuff. So if any of that's proposed to be different, like we need to identify exactly what's being proposed and how you'll meet the subdivision regulation, the original
Absolutely.
subdivision
We really
requirements.
have no intention of modifying anything from the originally approved subdivision, except the utility locations and what have you. like
Okay,
that.
so that should also be definitely identified and then
Okay.
also put onto the site plan, like any of the original subdivision conditions.
I had a question on the, I see you're installing a hydrant with a 6-inch water main extension.
Correct, yeah.
That'll be a public water main extension, correct?
Yes.
The sewers it seemed you changed it to utilize part of the existing sewer
For the
going out to
existing house,
Washington.
for the new house.
Are you combining the two sewers from the existing house and the new house into one connection? Or are they
No, they're gonna be
separate
two
connections?
separate connections, completely separate.
It almost looked like they were together into one.
Yeah, they're so
now.
close to one another on the drawing.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Just the way.
I was suggesting maybe a quick staff Zoom meeting, just to kind of go over subdivision, the easements, and, you know, that all those provisions are being met with this.
I don't see any issue with that. We'll be more than happy.
Maybe we could do
to
that.
make ourselves available and do it either Zoom or even in person. We have no problem with that.
So the plans we have are changed. We have like, ours is from June 10th. There's a newer plan. Is that right? A newer site plan, proposed site plan. Just looking at, see if we have the right drawings or not.
No, I think you have the right drawings. I have, there's some that are dated, I have June 7th, but, and then there's different sets. There's plan sets, architectural plan sets, and site plan sets, and some of them kind of
I'm just looking at-
overlap.
I'm just looking at the site plan of the 3 lots and just trying to understand.
That's,
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
There's the green, there's
This
the red. and the
doesn't
blue.
show all 3 lots.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you're probably,
Yeah,
are
you're
you in the
looking
wrong
at
one? Are you
Lafferty.
looking, yeah, 111 Lafferty?
You could be looking at Lafferty.
The Fergie's coming up.
That's totally different.
Washington numbers, oh, maybe I,
Is it,
Yeah, 70 Washington.
is it in here?
architecturals,
Ah.
anyway.
Yeah, so do we have a plan that shows all 3 lots?
Not on the submission, no.
All right. Please add that to your list.
And then,
Oh, gotcha, here it
and
is.
you're sharing one driveway still? I'm confused.
No, it's gonna be like basically separated. But
One
the-
curb cut and then 2 driveways?
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe a good idea, the next submission, just to include the subdivision map.
All right,
for
we'll
the
do
board's
that for
reference.
clarification, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm confused. So,
And have the site plan show everything that the landscape plan showed.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll reflect the both, the
Landscape plan shows the
landscape and the.
And the site
subdivision.
plan doesn't, so
Sure.
have the site plan show everything
Yeah, we'll coordinate them to be identical, this way there'll be no confusion. Right?
All right, is there
Thank
anything
you.
else you want them to do for next month?
No, I had a memo with a few points, but like I said, maybe just a quick, I was thinking a quick zoom to go over the layout, the water, the sewer, gas, how all that's being handled.
Okay, so you'll coordinate with Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right?
all right.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
We'll see you soon.
We'll see you in two more items.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item on our list is 42 Florence Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed exterior renovations to existing home, including stair landing, walkway, driveway, deck, and patio. Hi there, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right, yep. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm just going to try to share my screen here. Do I need permission to do that?
She has it.
You have it.
You see that all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm Stephanie Malensky with SM Architecture Studio. I'm the architect on 42 Florence Avenue. It's basically a interior alteration, which is resulting in some window and door changes. But on the exterior, we're adding a driveway, which currently there is no driveway on the site, which you can see here in beige. And in doing so, we're moving over the front entrance. So the front entrance stoop and stairs and sidewalk. And then adding a small deck in the back and a patio area in the back. So really there's minimal excavation. It's really the foundation for this new stoop and then one pure footing for this deck. But otherwise, as far as for the Architectural Historical Review Board, I'll show you the existing photos. These are some existing, the front, side, rear, and the other side. And then going to the proposed elevations. As I stated, we are moving some windows. Pretty much all of the second floor windows are staying in their current locations. But here's the front elevation, the side, and these window changes really result in how we're modifying the interior space. We're adding a bay window here in the back and then some extra windows in the back for the dining room area. The whole house is being re-sided. Here are the materials. We're using a hardy plank siding in this booth bay color. The trim will be white. The existing shutters will remain, but they'll be painted this black color. Here's the gray for the foundation. The windows, all the new windows will match the existing. They'll be Anderson 400 in a white to match the existing. The front door, which will be black. And then some lighting at the front as well as at the back deck area. I'd be happy to answer any questions or share any other information that you'd like to know about.
So, John, is there a planning component to this because of the driveway?
The reason it's here is because of the 300 square feet
Right.
of soil movement. in the
Okay.
project. But Anthony had some,
We had a few comments. I mean, we had a few comments on the way the drywall sizing was calculated, but another issue is the walkway in front and the plantings proposed are mainly in the right of way. Whether or not that needs some kind of board of trustees approval, or, can it be just a street opening permit, to build an extension of their walkway out to the, it's connecting to the driveway. Those plantings in the front are essentially where the right of way begins, so everything forward of that
Is the walkway at grade, just simple?
Yeah, it's just a sidewalk. There's a fire hydrant right here, so I didn't bring it straight out to the street. And like I said, we had to move the whole thing over in order to get the driveway in. But yeah, we could definitely take out those plantings, if that's an issue.
I mean, we'll often do like a sidewalk, extend the walkway to the road, I mean, there's planting specified. So I was like, just wanted to call attention to it if it needs any kind of board approval.
Are there any retaining walls in the village right away? Any structure other than right at grade?
No, it's pretty flat here, as you can see. But like I said, there's that fire hydrant there, so I couldn't come straight out with a new sidewalk, which is why I decided to curve it around.
In other words, the site plan's gonna be approving like plantings in the landscape plan outside of their property
Right.
line.
I mean, one of the things that, I don't even know, like, this board could consider waiving site plan, and that and they just have to go to the village board for the license agreement in order to pull their building permit. Right, so, because really, for the most part, it's, site plan, like Anthony said, it's just landscaping and sidewalk. So you could theoretically waive it and then just have them deal with the building permit issuance and the village board license agreement.
Okay, they have to coordinate the curb cut though, right, with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a street
That's what
opening.
Yeah.
DPW.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, whether or not this rises to a license agreement, I'm not sure.
Right.
But, maybe council could look at that, or,
Right.
but what Valerie said could kind of help it along.
Yeah, I've never seen that come up with something this simple before.
Right.
But, Dan's the right guy to run it by. Well, how do the board members feel? Should we waive this?
I think it's a nice project.
Yeah.
I would waive it.
Me too.
Okay, so what's that process?
Just do a resolution waiving site plan
Okay,
requirements.
okay, do you need to do that, or do we just say it?
Yeah, you can just say it, just as you
Okay.
did before.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
you're
I move that
waiving.
we waive site
Site
plan
plan
approval
approval.
for this project. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then, just to clarify, John, this also does not need AHRB, right?
The deck would,
Okay, so I have a resolution ready.
And
What's-
also the windows.
Yeah, okay.
and the window changes, yeah.
That looks fine to me.
Looks like an improvement.
Yes.
Yeah, only better.
Do you want to see the plan again, or not? You good with it?
I'm good with it.
All right, so whereas the applicants are seeking AHRB approval for various improvements to an existing dwelling, the locations of 42 Florence Avenue, now for there be it resolved, AHRB, the Village of Dobbs Ferry, determines that based upon the findings and reasons set forth below, the application is approved, and it refers to the June 17, 2024 site plans, or architectural plans, excuse me.
Okay, I make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just to confirm, so we don't come back to the planning board?
No.
No,
You're done here.
you're done with.
Great, thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is 49 Bellwood Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed additions and exterior alterations to existing residents.
Somebody has their hand up.
Ah,
fine.
Patty.
You have your hand up?
It's been a long day.
No, but there's a lot of stories they want to call.
What is that? Is that the fire station right there?
No, it's the scanner from our fire inspector. He left the scanner on.
So all set?
If I knew how to turn it off, I would.
You know that buzzing?
Good.
Go ahead.
So this is 49 Bellwood, property of Sclute O'Connor. They have a very nice, relatively modest existing single-family house. and they would like to make some even more modest alterations to it to make it a little bit nicer. They've lived there for a long time, but they're ready to do some fun things. What we're basically talking about doing, well, here, first is, this is where the property is located between, it's one of those houses that fronts on streets on both sides, but there's a large, grand view behind them is up like 15 feet, so it's like, it's the back, but it's, it has a nice feeling because you don't have a house right behind you. Here's their survey, which is pretty minimal. What we're going to move. Okay, so it's a small box of a house, and what we're proposing to do is to build an addition, small addition on the north side of the house, which is very close to the property line of the neighbor, for enhancing their existing side entrance. It's going to be a 4-foot addition with a roof coming down over it. We've already been to the zoning board. They've already granted the variance for that. And then we're building an addition in the back, which will have a screen porch on the first floor, an expansion of a bedroom on the second floor, and another addition on the second floor to give more space to 2 existing bathrooms. So this is kind of the existing plan, and then you can see where we're making the additions on the plan that we showed there. Let's stop doing that, whatever the thing is. We've got the one variance we need. Everything else with the property works. We're under with impervious. We're under with building coverage. We've proposed storm drainage in the backyard. We're located, there are trees in the back, further up in the backyard, but we've got open space in that area for stormwater management plan. And we're on the back of the house, I said we're doing the screen porch, and the additions on the second floor are also creating a terrace. As part of that, on the back, we're actually removing the existing terrace and building a new terrace. And probably what you're going to be more interested in is how this works massing-wise than the square and the plan layouts. But if you want to see a plan layout, we can show you that. So here's the proposed elevations. Lower, so where did it go? Okay.
We can see them here on our computers.
You can see it on the computers, but not in this?
Well, I'm just looking at my file that you sent.
Okay. I'm thinking, I've got service, so I don't know why it's not up on. You know? The button.
There's that's what it looks like. Yeah. Just fine. Small house.
Nicely.
Pretty old, 1949.
Oh, looks old.
How old is the original house? You're guessing?
1926, I think.
Oh. Uh-huh. We can see it here.
Yeah, I think the board has the copies of the
Yeah,
document.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't struggle.
Well,
Let's see it.
there's the
Patty,
public.
what prompted the asymmetrical shutters?
Not us.
Ooh.
I think
we're
you have
going
to,
in
you have to
spooky mode.
mute.
Oh.
Spooky mode.
You can't deal with all these things. Okay, how do I? It's, okay. I'm muted now. I'm muted.
Your feedback.
Yeah, I know, but
Feeding back from your computer.
What, my computer?
Why don't you, I would just maybe shut down your computer and then,
Yeah, it's not this one.
that's weird.
Maybe,
No, now you're, I think you're okay. Say something again. Yeah, okay, you're good now. Wait, don't go back on, because I think it was your computer, because then it finally registered that you were. I would just, I think the board all has.
Just to keep this
Yeah.
moving, do the members of the board have comments regarding this project?
No.
So,
can you see all the renderings? And all
Yeah.
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't see any.
Looks fine.
Um,
And you got the variance for the,
Got the variance for the side yard, the idea of the shutters, those are the existing shutters on the front of the house. We thought they're really kind of cool, so we used those in the back since they work better with the configuration of the windows in the corners.
But they're different on the back than they are on the front.
Well, we kept, some of them on the back remain existing, and others are new. The ones that are new match the
did they actually work, or are they just,
They're
Oh.
wood
oh,
shutters.
cool. Oh, cool. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're hinged and,
Nice.
they're very cool.
Yeah, really are.
John, do you have any issues that we want to get addressed before we call a public hearing?
Just everything that was in Valerie and Anthony's memos.
Yeah, so I think you can, I mean, if you want to call for a public hearing, I think that's fine. I think Patty just needs to resubmit, plans that reflect our comments.
You feel you
All
can,
the comments were very straightforward. I mean, showing where the trees are on the property so we're not taking any down. The tree at the corner of the house has one branch. It would have to probably come up, but we'd have the arborist look at that, make sure that that's done in a way to keep that tree, they prefer to keep it. So our plan isn't to take any down. The questions that you had about grading, we are doing excavation, but the grade of the property when it's finished will be what the grade is now. So I don't know that there's anything.
Right, that's what I was saying, just
Yeah.
resubmit. There's a few comments that will just, but.
Yeah, I think we asked about doing a percolation test for the infiltration.
Yeah, what I always like to do is show twice as much as we'd ever need, and then do the test pit when we have the equipment there instead of bringing it to
That's okay, but if you can't do infiltration, if it's bad soils, then what do you do? So, I mean, I'm necessarily not against that for something that's minor.
And we know the soils
Yeah.
in this area really well. We've done several houses.
You can at least present the USDA soil map,
Sure.
that's always good. And there'll be a condition to do it, verify prior to building.
I'll put
permit.
notes to
Yeah.
that on there.
So Patty, I just have a question on the rear perspective. Is this the entrance, the door? What is this with the shed roof over it?
Let me leave that to him, but I can't see anything.
That's what he got the variance for, correct?
So this
Yeah,
here?
that's the porch on the side. Right now, there's a roof that comes out. We're allowed to have the size roof in a yard because we maintain the setback that's required for a porch into a side yard setback. What we needed the variance for was the 4 feet, goes 2 feet past the 10-foot setback.
And is this already existing?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
where the entrance is on their house.
Right.
Comes into a kind of almost awkward, where you come in, you've got 3 steps up to the first floor, the rest steps to the basement, and that's where their garage is.
Right.
So this is the right place for them to be doing that. There's a lot of room on the other side of the house. I looked at the idea of, well, why don't we do a nice big thing on the other side? And they were much more interested in us keeping this
So where do
modest on the
these,
side.
where do these guys come in?
Those brackets?
Yeah.
That's what's holding up the,
No, I know it's holding it up, but is that something that was existing, or is
No.
that something that you just,
they're on the existing porch.
the same type of
Something
bracket?
similar. Not,
Okay.
these are a little bit more articulated and have more of a depth and mass to them.
Okay, I was just curious if if it was anywhere else in the.
If you look at the photos that I did showed in there of the house, you'll see them on the, yeah. There's a photo somewhere else. I gave a bunch of photos of the neighborhood, all
Okay.
those things.
Thank
So
you.
you'll see the brackets on that, and these are nicer brackets.
Okay, thank you.
So Patty, do you think you can get Anthony and Valerie what they need before the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You guys didn't do this. I had 555 of those things.
So I move that we call for a public hearing at the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Welcome.
And the last item on our agenda is 111 Lafergie Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed 3-lot subdivision to include 2 proposed dwellings and 1 existing dwelling.
So this is the existing condition of the lot. Right now, the driveway kind of cuts through, mostly probably towards the 30 Avenue. So we're proposing the 2 lots to front and 2 lots to fall front on 30 Avenue as required by the code that the property should run onto improved road. So we've seen the third slide there, the 2 lots with both driveways fronting onto 30 Avenue. So we'll be proposing 2 additional curb cuts in addition to the new one that would service the existing single-family dwelling. The stormwater design for the new homes and the impervious areas are all compliant with village regulations. The sanitary sewer for the 2 new lots would require us to extend the main corner of 30 Avenue and Belden Avenue. So we have some improvements there on slide 5, I believe. Yes. You can see the proposed sewer services will go through the back of the properties to a manhole. We would run the services through the deep right away on Belden to a new manhole on Fergie, which will connect at the corner of Fergie and Creek. As part of this application, no wetlands or wetland buffer areas will be disturbed. There is some steep slope disturbance. We're trying to minimize that as much as possible. It's just that with the topography of the property, for us to get a driveway up to the Fergie on that side, we would need to disturb some steep slopes. And all we're looking at approximately 26 to 2,700 square feet of steep slope disturbance in the 15 to 25% category. Most of that will occur for development lot 3, which is the house with the towards the back of the lot there, and approximately 900 square feet of steep slope disturbance for lot 2. The architect, William Bishop is also here tonight. If you guys have any questions concerning the houses we're proposing, both homes are pretty identical.
Maybe they're not.
The proposed drawings are all, like I said, code compliant, we meet all lot coverages. So we're just here to answer any feedback.
The new driveway for the existing house, what's the grade going to be for that?
So I have driveway profiles for all the lots. So we have. So the entrance to lot number one, it's at 7.92%, goes up to 11.25% at that curve. Going into that little kind of turnaround area by the garage. It's at the very top.
Thank you. Valerie, you mentioned we need to declare ourselves as lead agency for secret.
Yeah, just, you can just note that you're planning to do, that you'd like to declare yourself lead agency for seeker purposes, because it's an unlisted action, that's all.
Okay. So do we say anything in specific? Or?
No, you can just do a resolution that you declare yourself lead agency.
Okay. I move that we declare ourselves lead agency for secret for this project. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay.
No, because I think, we just want to clarify, this is for, because you also have this is for both subdivision approval and site plan approval, correct? Because you're also seeking AHRB approval as well?
Yes.
Okay.
We have architectural plans coming.
Okay, yeah, that's all three.
But as far as subdivision.
Did you submit a plat yet, a preliminary
No.
plat?
So we're working on getting that done.
Right, and I think there was also, we had some comments on dealing with the zoning, because it needs to have the sliding scale applied to it, so you'll need to revise a number of those elements as well. So, I mean, there's clearly at the beginning of the process for this particular project. There definitely needs to be additional information submitted and additional plans revised before we can even really start diving into details on the project itself.
You have their memos?
It should be on the website. My memos make it to the website.
Yeah.
There's a fairly substantial list of things they'd like you to address, so I recommend to get started soon. Is there anything else we need to do at this time with this application? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing it to us.
Is there any other business before we put the meeting to rest?
Anybody? Wishing Chairman Hunter fast recovery, although you did a great job. And what else?
That's it, right? Okay, I move that we close the meeting. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Ace.